Alright, well, FFG has finally decided to bless us with a new article for Fear No Evil, the newest Marvel Champions expansion. So, let us take our very first look at this. This is going to be... Crime is on the rise. They have lied to us. They said that the very first word is going to start with an E, and this starts with crime is on the rise. And with it, our prophet, Kingpin. Everyone knows that the Avengers and how they save the world on the regular, but for every cosmic tyrant threatening the planet, there are 6 super-powered criminals threatening the streets. It's these day-to-day villains that most often endanger the people, especially when they organize beneath a powerful ringleader. To take on such a dastardly team of criminals, the city needs a team of fearless defenders. Fantasy Flight Games is thrilled to announce Fear No Evil, the next campaign expansion for Marvel Champions the card game. Taking place on the streets of New York, this campaign sees our heroes taking on the city's super-powered criminal underbelly, resolving various crises as they work up to a face-to-face confrontation with the man behind it all. This expansion stands out from its peers by having 6 scenarios instead of the usual 5. Wow! And not only that, but 5 of those scenarios can be mixed and matched with different villains from the box to create a unique experience with each playthrough. Okay, so that's a funny thing to say because... Wow, that's a really, really funny thing to say. Because someone on the Discord made a prediction that the back of the hero pack could have villains instead of modular encounter sets. So in theory they could do that and make it so that the back of each hero set comes with a villain now that can be mixed with the actual encounter sets that come in the box. Like you can, wow, that's really interesting. Like past campaign expansions, each of these scenarios can be played individually or in variable order as a part of a larger campaign. This box also kicks off a new wave of playable heroes for the game, beginning with Echo and the long-awaited Daredevil, which I've completely forgot to make a prediction about, which I'll make that prediction at the end of this video. Both of whom come fully pre-built and ready to play decks from the get-go. Today we're providing a first look at the scenario content for this expansion. We'll go over the heroes in their own dedicated previews in the near future. There's a lot to cover for this box, so without further ado, let's take a look at this story for Fear No Evil. Ooh, there's Black Cat, Bullseye, Kingpin, Rhino, don't know if that's a villain, Chain Lightning. What do we have? Master Key, change of venue. So there's gonna be environments, a set-aside scheme. I can't read this very clearly, but it seems like there's going to be a change of environment and that we are going to have a long hallway is my prediction, for sure. Incessant pursuit, what is this? Pedestrian, sure, an obligation or treachery or whatever. Shop proprietor and burning rubber. Some sort of getaway, I'm assuming. 5 underlings, 1 kingpin. As mentioned above, Fear No Evil breaks new ground for Marvel Champions by being the game's first expansion to have 6 scenarios instead of the usual 5. We have some sort of electric woman, Bullseye, obviously. I can't remember his name. I know who he is, but I can't remember his name. This is... resembles Azazel in a way. I don't know who this person is, and I don't know who this is either. The story of this expansion sees the rise of a new crime spree in New York City, orchestrated by Kingpin and carried about 5 of... Wait, where is Typhoid Mary? She is straight up on the box. Where's Typhoid Mary? Anyways, the story of this expansion sees the rise of a new crime spree in New York City, orchestrated by Kingpin and carried out by his 5 greatest underlings. Bullseye, Electro, Hammerhead, that was his name. Oh, I knew his name, Hammerhead. Purple Man, who I predicted would be in the back of... what's her name? Jessica Jones's pack, and Typhoid Mary, so I guess this is Typhoid Mary. As you may have guessed, each of these 5 underlings can be fought as standalone villains, and each of them is deadly in their own right. Bullseye, 0 scheme, 1 attack. 0. What is this 0? Or this could be a 1, actually. It could be a 1 in a very thick black border, or it could be a 0. Assassin Underling, when revealed, set aside adamantium-laced spine, 68A. 68A. Okay, so it's going to be like one big, giant scenario, and then you mix in the villains cards. So Bullseye is going to be 14, and then you have 68A, so I guess that's going to be... Wow, is this gonna be a giant... You just like mix and match and build the entire... Like the whole box is gonna be New York City, and you just like mix and match cards that you want to use? Force Interrupt. When Bullseye activates, each of his boost cards gain a boost icon. If this activation is an attack, it gets ranged. When Bullseye activates, each of his boost cards... Okay, so he basically has his own personal amplify icon, but it's not for villainous cards. This is a villain, so he's not villainous. Okay, kind of underwhelming stats. Take Bullseye, Fear No Evil 65, for example. Is this just gonna be... Yeah, this is just gonna be Bullseye. This Bloodthirsty Assassin adds an extra boost icon to every card in his deck, making his attacks a bit stronger and his schemes a bit trickier than you would normally expect. This, of course, stacks with Amplify icons on cards like Deranged Bloodlust, Fear No Evil 73, Deranged Bloodlust Side Scheme. This is 73, so this is the... No, this is not the card he sets aside. Place additional threat here equal to the Bullseye stage number amplify icon boost. After this activation, reveals this card. Okay, so this is his stage icon, or stage number. I completely forgot those exist. And it gets even nastier when a card already has several boost icons of its own, such as Unerring Desire. Is this going to be a 4 boost? Oh, this is a 3 boost. If this activation is an attack against Overkill. I wish there were more boost cards like this, but yeah, this makes sense. Treachery. When revealed, choose to either give this card to the villain as a face-down boost card or remove a persona support you control from the game, which is funny because I didn't say this in my video, but I thought that Bullseye would straight up be like, if Bullseye makes an undefended attack, remove a persona or a support in general you control from the game, which would have been wild. Take Bullseye, for example, blah, 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 73, 75. Do these images go to the next ones? Okay, we have Deranged Bloodlust, and we have Unerring Desire. Okay, so we don't seem to be missing any of them. You may have noticed an additional effect on the last card. If you choose not to give Unerring Desire to Bullseye as a boost card, you are forced to remove one of your persona supports from the game. Bullseye is an assassin after all, and he knows how to hit his enemies where it hurts the most, their friends and family. Unerring Desire is bad enough, but Bullseye can take things up a step further and go after your allies with Raise the Stakes, Fear No Evil 69. Raise the Stakes, Bullseye. This is an attachment attached to Bullseye. Force Interrupt when Bullseye... That's a 3 boost as well. When Bullseye attacks, give him one additional boost card for this attack. If this attack defeats a friendly character, remove them and this card from the game. Otherwise, shuffle this card into the encounter deck. Remove this if it defeats a friendly character. So you can't... Oh, that's interesting. So in theory, the optimal thing to do is just to chump block and let them die, so you get that out of the game, but that's interesting. And Incessant Pursuit, Fear No Evil 71, attached to an ally without Insistent Pursuit attached. Otherwise, this card gains Surge. When the villain would attack you, it attacks an attached ally instead, and the attack gains Overkill. If this attack defeats attached ally, remove them from the game. Yep, okay. Cool. Gradually whittling down your forces until it is just you and him left, which is kind of funny, because my favorite way to play isn't to have like a bunch of allies. I know that doesn't seem like the case based off my recent X-Men characters playthrough, but I prefer just having me and like one crucial ally. Like for Silk, I like to just have Spider-Man out there and just be like, we're doing stuff, right? I can't tell if this encourages you to do that or if it discourages you to do that, but anyways. Bullseye isn't all offense either. After revealing Bullseye Stage 2, he gains access to his Adamantian Lace Spine. Permanent. Force Interrupt when Bullseye would take damage. Prevent all but 3 of that damage. All but 3? That's a weird way to do it. Place the prevented damage here, then if there is 6 or more damage here, flip this card. Flip it. For the rest of the game, significantly reducing the amount of damage you can do to him in a single instance, you'll have to either rely on multiple small hits to get anything through, or hit him hard enough to flip his attachment to Damage Spine, giving yourself the opportunity to finish the job. Permanent force response after Bullseye schemes, remove 3 damage from here. Then, if there is no damage here, flip this card. After Bullseye schemes, remove 3 damage from here. So ideally... So in theory, he could have up to 5 plus 3 would be 8. In theory, he could have 8 damage on here, and it doesn't go away when it flips. And then after that, you don't want to scheme, because that lets him scheme. Or you don't want to turn over to Alter Ego, because it lets him scheme, which would flip over, or start flipping over the card. That is not that bad. Electro, Stage 1. 1 scheme, 1 attack. Criminal underling. When revealed, find Electric Charge and attach it to Electro. Then place 2 charge counters 2 per person charge counters on it. Force response after Electro schemes, place 1 charge counter on electric charge. This is number 76. 76 as opposed to 65. 65 plus 14 is 79. That's interesting. How are these numbered? It goes from 65 to 79, but then Electro is 76. How are these numbered? Bullseye is already a tough customer on his own, and he's just one of the 5 underlings on Kingpin's payroll. Francine Fry, also known as Electro, is another one of these underlings, and her dangerous electrical powers are only matched by her explosive temper. She begins the game with Electric Charge. Attachment, permanent. Force interrupt when Electro attacks. Remove 1 charge counter from here. Give Electro an additional boost card for this attack. This attack gains overkill. I like these sort of effects where it gives the enemy a boost card. I prefer if they give you another benefit, like with extreme risk, but you know, this is cool too. Hero action, spend 2 electric resources or 2 resources of any type. Remove 1 charge counter from here. Yeah, I'm not doing that. Bring it on. Just bring it on. We'll deal with the boost cards. Stacking 2 per person charges on it to represent her initial electric buildup. Electro gains 2 additional boost cards on her attack by spending charge counters from this attachment. And she adds additional charge counters when she schemes or her charging up. Fear No Evil number 82. Side scheme is defeated. When defeated, place 3 charge counters on electric charge, but you really want to defeat it because this has an amplify icon. Yep, okay. More 3 boosts. Lots of 3 boosts we're seeing. Thankfully, the heroes are able to remove electric charge counters or charge counters from electric charge at the cost of a few resources, and this is definitely going to be something you want to do. Dealing with extra boost cards is already bad enough, but if you aren't careful, Electro can devastate your entire team with a burst of chain lightning. Treachery. When defeated, or when revealed for each character you control, choose one to either exhaust that character or deal 1 damage to that character, 3 damage instead if there are any charge counters on electric charge. Remove 1 charge counter from electric charge. I think that's not the worst thing in the world. Exhaust each of your characters is not that bad. There's already like... Is that in standard? I don't think it's in standard or expert, but there's plenty of cards that just exhaust your characters, and it's like, sure, whatever. Like, that's being reviewed as a treachery. Like, the bad things have already happened. You can just deal with them being exhausted. You might not be able to... I mean, if you rely on your allies and stuff, that's worse. Or if you're playing Iceman, that's annoying, but still. The most efficient way to clear charge... Wait a second. Does this remove 1 charge counter for every single character? You would have to deal with 3 damage to that character, but then I suppose that means you could remove 1 charge counter from electric charge for every single one of those characters. Because this is a per character thing you choose. Interesting. The most efficient way to clear charge counters is through the use of energy resources, but holding on to too many of those in your hand can make you susceptible to energy overload. Fear No Evil number 84. Treachery. When revealed, if you have no cards with a printed energy resource in your hand, this card gains surge. Otherwise, for each card with a printed energy resource in your hand, choose to either discard that card or stun a character you control. Okay, that's annoying. Even if she can't punish you for directly negating her charge, Electro can always leave your upgrades drained of power. Fear No Evil number 80. Attachment uses 3 train counters when uses 3 train counters. Have we seen attachments that use counters? I mean, I'm sure we've seen some of them, but that's interesting. When revealed, attach to your identity and exhaust each upgrade you control. Now that's way worse. Force interrupt when an upgrade you control would ready. You may spend an energy resource or 2 resources of any type. If you do, remove 1 drain counter from here and ready that upgrade. Otherwise, that upgrade does not ready. Wow, that's actually really, really annoying. Because this doesn't say that you can choose to not ready it and then one of those drain counters goes away, so it'll go away naturally. This says you have to spend the resources, otherwise your upgrades just do not ready for the rest of the game. This is actually really, really annoying if you are playing an upgrade dependent hero, which I think most of my favorite characters are. Although I suppose Hulkling is one of my favorite heroes, even though I've only played him once. And you kind of don't need that to be ready, because you can just replace that upgrade. So, where is drained of power, forcing you to make hard decision on where you're spending your extra resources. That just sounds annoying. Crime Spree. By now, some of you may have noticed that we have yet to review a main scheme for either of these villains. That's because neither of them actually has a main scheme of their own. In fact, none of the underling villains in this box do. Instead, each of the scenarios in this expansion, with the exception of the last one, which we'll get into in a moment, I'm assuming that's going to be Kingpin, exist independently of the villains, and you can mix and match them to your heart's content, much like the Civil War stuff. That's fun. 9 per person to Getaway 1B, so that means that also every single one of these villains will not have a single stage main scheme, I guess. So there's not going to be a Rhino situation where you can just lose in one turn for absolutely no reason. Force interrupt. When the round ends, if there is threat here, do each of the following. If there is threat here, it gets 2 per person and starts with 2. Wow, that's... For a 9 scheme, 1B? Okay, place 1 speed counter here. If a long side is in play, flip it to out front, alongside to out front. Otherwise, place 1 additional speed counter here. Speed counter. One of these scenarios is the Getaway, which sees you and your fellow heroes engaging in a classic high-speed car chase with the chosen villain. The goal of this scenario is to keep the main scheme clear of threats, since every bit of threat on it represents distance that the villain puts ahead of you. In that vein, the villain gets a head start by beginning the scenario out front. Here, Fear No Evil 129A. Out front, permanent, attached to the villain. If there is no threat on a main scheme, flip this card. I guess that's just an ongoing effect. Attached villains' attacks gain ranged, because otherwise they can't attack you, obviously, because they're out front. Force interrupt. When the villain would be dealt any amount of damage, remove that amount of threat from the main scheme instead. Oh. Oh, that's fun. That's fun. Clear all scheme off that scheme, and then you'll be pulled up alongside, so they no longer have ranged. When revealed, each player takes 1 indirect damage, the villain takes 2 per person damage. Wait. Wait, no. Hold on. Hold on, how does... Wait, no, you can just thwart them... You can just keep thwarting the whole time. Thwart and healing the whole time, then. You're gonna take 1 indirect damage, so you might want to have some allies to take that damage for you. But you can just spend the entire game just flipping back and forth between alongside and out front and dealing 2 per person damage to the villain. Okay. Sure. Allowing you to take a few swings at them before they drive away again. Just take care not to get run over in the process. As the scenario progresses, the main scheme will gradually build up speed counters to represent the, well, speed of the chase. These don't do anything on their own, but much of the rest of the Getaways and counter sets scales up to the number of counters on a main scheme. For example, the Treachery Burning Rubber, Fear No Evil 132. Burning Rubber, when revealed for each speed counter on a main scheme, choose to either spend 1 resource of any type or place 1 threat on a main scheme. Okay. So you... Yeah, thwarting would be really important in this main... But this is just one of the... This is 1B, so then 2B would like move on to something else, I guess. Burning Rubber can cost you a lot of resources or place a lot of threat if there are lots of speed counters on the main scheme. Similarly, Pedestrians can force you to slam on the brakes, which only gets rougher the faster you are going. When revealed for each counter on the main scheme, choose to either exhaust the character you control or take 1 damage. I think that makes less sense. I think for Pedestrians, that should be the one that causes you to... I mean, exhaust the character you control makes sense, but I think that makes more sense to have it make you spend resources. You have to put in, like, effort to make sure you're not hitting Pedestrians, but whatever. Protection Racket 1A, chosen underling villain, CP... Okay, this is contents. You choose an underling villain, see rulebook page 5. Chosen villain set, Protection Racket set, and Standard set. 2 modular encounter sets, so we still have those. Disaster and Tracksuit Mafia. So you have a modular villain, you have a modular main scheme, and you have the modular encounter or standard set, and you have 2 modular encounter sets, so Silk is really gonna suffer. Setup: each player chooses a single Protection Racket main scheme at random in expert mode. Choose a single... So even the Protection Racket will have random Protection Racket main schemes. Place it in their play area and flip it to side 1B. Set each unused main scheme aside, out of play. And Protection Racket has 9 cards. What does the Getaway have? The getaway is 1 out of 8. Okay. Another scenario you have to deal with is protection rackets threatening New York's local shops. This scenario has multiple crimes going on at once, which means that the heroes will have to divide and conquer if they want to bring the chaos to a halt. So they really want you to thwart in this in this box. Each player has their own main scheme to deal with, each one representing a different shop to protect, and they all have certain conditions that add additional threat to them. Oh, each player chooses a single protection racket. Oh, wow. That is different. That is very different. For example, excess damage while dealing with Bull in a China shop, which has a Bull guy tackling Iron Fist in a China shop. Force interrupt when excess damage is dealt to an ally in expert mode. An ally or a minion in this play area place an equal amount of threat on this scheme. If any main scheme is completed or if any player is eliminated, the players lose the game. Oof. Wait a second, this is just 1B, so this is a one-thing scenario. What does... Oh wait, the getaway is also a one-thing scenario. Oh no. Oh, it's gonna be really easy to just thwart, or to get schemed out. Oh no. Alright. Can end up destroying the shop's wares in a similar fashion. Hung out to dry. Hung out to dry, 1B. Jessica Jones. Calm down, it's on the gentle cycle. Force response after a character enters play in this play area. Deal 1 damage to it and place 1 threat here. That's way easier to deal with. In a similar fashion, Hung Out to Dry takes place in a cramped laundromat, which means the more contestants are present, the messier it gets. And while it may be tempting to grab something off the shelf and smack your foes within the pawn shop showdown, reduce the cost of the first upgrade played into this play area each round by 1. Force response after an attachment or upgrade enters play in this play area, place 1 threat here. If any main scheme is completed, blah blah blah. This is the best one. Who cares? You get an upgrade for 1 less, and that helps you thwart it out. That's way easier. That's the easiest one. You have to remember that that's the shop's inventory. Even beyond the shop itself, you'll also have to protect the proprietor. Shop proprietor, 1 thwart, 1 scheme, 2 consequential, 3 HP. Civilian, when revealed, put shop proprietor into play under your control. This card gains surge. Force interrupt when this ally leaves play, place 4 threat on the main scheme in your play area. I thought he would have just made you lose the game, but I guess not. You can't just let him be defeated. And that'd be okay, I guess. From getting caught in the crossfire, and if things get especially hectic, you may suddenly find yourself in a change of venue. No long hallway. Surge, when revealed, swap your main scheme with a random set-aside main scheme. Place the threat from the previous scheme onto this new scheme. There needs to be multiple copies of this for this to have any actual effect. Although it does have Surge, and it doesn't get removed from play, so I guess this could just come back over and over. Heroes can still assist each other by thwarting main schemes other than their own, and they'll definitely want to do so since if any of these main schemes complete, or if any hero is defeated, the players lose the game. Wow, Everywhere All at Once is going to be an incredible card for this particular fight. Any game effect on a card you resolve that refers to the main scheme specifically will only work on your own main scheme, but any effects that target a scheme will still work on any main scheme. This means you'll have to be strategic about thwarting abilities you use and when to use them, and depending on what encounter cards each player has resolved, you may find one person's main scheme building up faster than another's. Thankfully, anytime an enemy schemes including both the villain and their minions, they only add threat to the main scheme of the player you're activating against, which means that you'll still have a fighting chance even if things take a turn for the worst. Man, only 1 main scheme though for like this entire box. I don't like it when they only have 1 main scheme. Like, that's something I really, really don't like. 11 per person, the Raft Breakout, 1B, go forth and wreak havoc, Proxima Midnight. Each minion gains when defeated, remove 1 threat from the main scheme, 2 threats instead if this minion has the leech trait. Starts with 2 per person, gets 1 per person, the Raft Breakout. That's pretty simple. Speaking of fighting, the last of these interchangeable scenarios that we'll show you today is the Raft Breakout, Fear No Evil 142B. As you may have guessed from its name, this scenario revolves around a mass breakout from the Shield Supermax prison, the Raft, which is I love that card. I love that card. This prison is chock full of enemies that you took down in previous Marvel Champions campaign expansions, and you're all itching for a chance at some payback. So that's where Rhino comes back in that one picture, I guess. First up is our old friend Rhino. Yep, there he is. 1 scheme, 3 attack, 7 HP, Brute, Elite, Prisoner, Toughness, Villainous, Rhino's attacks gain Overkill, just straight up. And a 3 boost with the activating enemy gains a tough status card. I love when the boost cards have cool star effects. I love that. As strong as ever, Rhino's ready to do more breaking than taking this time, and his attacks hurt. Hailing from Sinister Motives is the dangerously crafty Mysterio, Fear No Evil, which unfortunately nobody can get, so I guess this is the closest anyone can get to actually fighting Mysterio. 2 scheme, 1 attack, 6 HP, Criminal, Elite, Prisoner, Villainous, Force Response. After Mysterio attacks you, deal each of that activation's boost cards that is a treachery to yourself as a face-down encounter card. Wow. Wow, that sucks. He only has 6 HP though. But still, that sucks. Whose illusions will dish you extra encounter cards for as long as he's outside of his cell. Jumping ahead to a more recent foe, we have Baron Zemo, Fear No Evil 155 from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It'd be very funny if his effect is just bring back to more Thunderbolt modular encounter sets. Every time he attacks, shuffle one of them into the encounter set. Baron Zemo, 2 scheme, 1 attack, 6 HP, Villainous, treat each ally with threat on it as a deceived minion with a blank text box. Each ally with threat on it. Its scheme is equal to its base threat and it does not take consequential damage. When revealed, place 1 threat on an ally without threat on it. It engages its controller. Meh. That's fine-ish. Well, not really, because I really only like to have like 1 ally, so that's actually pretty bad. These are just 3 of the 6 elite minions in this scenario. Wait, this scenario pits you against. Wait a minute. 3 out of 6. How many boxes are there? You have Core, Galaxy's Most Wanted, which probably won't go in the raft. Rise of Red Skull, so I guess they could go in the raft. Thanos one. We already have the Sinister Motives one. A bunch of X-Men stuff. 3 more X-Men stuff, which I don't know if they would go in the raft. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and then I guess Civil War? So they could be hiding some heroes in that box? 3 of the 6 elite minions. So I guess one of them could be a hero or a leader, I guess. And that's not even taking the villain's own modular encounter set into account. Assisted by the Master Key, Fear No Evil, attached to the villain permanent force response after the villain schemes against you. Deal each of that activation's boost cards that is a minion to yourself as a face-down encounter card. Wow, that sucks. Oh wow, that really sucks, because then that's gonna give you Baron Zemo with 3, Mysterio with 3, and then Rhino with 3 that also gives them a tough status card. I kind of wish that Baron Zemo would confuse you as well, or Mysterio would confuse you as well. I don't know what Baron Zemo would do in that case, but kind of weird. Well, he has too much text. That's why he doesn't have an effect. But like, they could fit in some text on Mysterio. Whatever. Which is attached to the villain during setup, and you're going to have to fend off an unrelenting torrent of escaped convicts if you want any chance of quelling the chaos at the raft. And there it is, the man behind it all, Kingpin. Finally, we have the one responsible for the surge in crime in New York City, Kingpin. Fear No Evil 159A, Kingpin 1A. So 2 schemes, Star Attack, Criminal, Stalwart, Kingpin, Stalwart. That means you just straight up cannot stun or confuse them. Kingpin cannot be dealt damage or have upgrades attached. The players must garner public support to face him directly. Force interrupt when Kingpin would attack you, his schemes instead. Ooh. When he would attack you, his schemes instead. That's why he has... Ooh. That sucks. For all of these that have one main scheme, that really sucks. Kingpin... A2, so this is its flipped form. 2 attack, 2 scheme, criminal, martial artist, steady, force interrupt when Kingpin activates against you. If you are not engaged with a minion, give Kingpin 1 additional boost card for this activation. So if he's fighting you mano a mano, he's gonna go harder. That's kind of fun. As the final boss of this expansion, Kingpin's scenario breaks convention in a few different ways. A master of manipulation with his unending influence and connections, Kingpin starts his scenario off by immediately calling in each player's set-aside Nemesis minion. Wow! Kingpin started off his scenario by immediately calling in each player's set-aside Nemesis minion. You read that right from the very first turn of the fight. You'll be dealing with not only Kingpin's schemes, but your worst enemy fighting alongside him. There's no standard set used in Kingpin's scenario. Yes! Oh my god, yes! This is going to be one of my favorite new scenarios. I have so many issues with the standard set. I think they should make more scenarios that don't use the standard set and just be like, no, expert mode, have different effects printed on the cards. That should be how expert mode works, instead of having these BS 3 cards that, like, I have so many problems with the standard set. I think I'm going to love this encounter. Instead, cards from his own encounter set can bring more of your Nemesis cards into play. For example, Kingpin's Influence, Fear No Evil 173. Site is getting kind of slow. I'm assuming people are clicking on the link and taking up bandwidth. Kingpin's Influence side scheme. Kingpin uses a combination of lies, bribes, and threats to get others to do his bidding. Kingpin tells all the truth about Murdoch revealed. When defeated, the player who defeated this scheme places 3 threat on their Nemesis side scheme. If it is not in play, they find it and reveal it. Wow. And it gives you +1 card. Nightcrawler is gonna despise this. He's gonna despise it. Wow, Bag of Tricks can gradually reveal the rest of the set. Bag of Tricks, Treachery. Wow, that's a different card. That's a different art than I expected for Kingpin. When revealed, reveal a random card from your set-aside Nemesis set. If no card is revealed this way, this card gets searched. Oh, so the rest of your set still stays to the side. Interesting. Boost. Give this character a random card from your set-aside Nemesis set as an additional boost card. That's fun. That's a lot of fun. 22 cards for Kingpin, that's a lot of fun. As if dealing with your Nemesis wasn't bad enough, Kingpin can't even be touched. If you want to be able to bring the big boss down, you'll have to garner public support. Wait a minute, what does this say? Kingpin cannot be dealt damage or have upgrades attached. Okay, so you can't even deal him damage. It's not that you can't attack him, you just can't deal him damage, period. You'll have to gather public support environment low. Force response after a minion is defeated, place 1 support counter here. Force interrupt when the villain phase begins. If there's at least 2 per person plus 2 support counters here, flip Kingpin and advance the main scheme to stage 2A. Then flip this card. So you have to defeat minions in order to defeat Kingpin. Like, you have to be doing that. Okay. I wish there were more ways to gather public support other than just fighting. You would think that a game about... I'm assuming there's going to be side schemes that when you defeat them, you can place more support on public support, because otherwise it's sending a weird message about how you can only gather public support by beating up bad guys. The citizens of New York have had it with the crime spree, and if you can take down enough of Kingpin's minions, then the people will have your backs in the final fight. Get public support flipped to its high side. Interrupt when an enemy would be given a face-down boost card. Remove 1 per person support counters from here. After a minion is defeated, place 1 support counter here. So basically, you want to keep the enemy from getting boost cards in general. So stunning and confusing Kingpin is going to be kind of crucial. Well, he does have steady. When you can't fight him, he has steady. When you can't fight him, he has stalwart. Okay. And you'll cause Kingpin to flit as well, letting you take him on directly and bring an end to his schemes. Beer Hug. If Kingpin has a martial artist trait attached to your hero, otherwise this card gains surge. Uses 3 gripped counters. You cannot change to alter ego form. Force interrupt when you would thwart or attack, remove 1 grip counter from here instead. Wow! That is 3 stuns and confuses. And you can't change to alter ego form. This card is brutal. Kingpin's Cane, +1 attack. When revealed, you are attached to Kingpin, you are stunned. After Kingpin attacks and damages a hero, stun that hero. If a hero is stunned this way, discard this card. After Kingpin attacks and damages a hero. Okay, so let him stun you at least once, and then you can stop dealing with this. Yeah, okay. Of course, Kingpin's not just gonna sit there idly, armed with his beer hugs and his cane and his mountain of muscle. Attachment. If Kingpin has a martial artist trait attached to Kingpin, otherwise his card gains surge. Kingpin gains retaliate 1. First interrupt when Kingpin would take any amount of damage, place it here instead. Then if there's 8 or more damage here, discard this card. And he's punching, Bucky Barnes. That's fun. Fisk is more than happy to demonstrate why he is a man to be feared. Even once you've dealt with your nemesis minion, Kingpin still has plenty of underlings on his payroll, such as the tricky Spot. Minion, 2 scheme, 2 attack, 5 HP, criminal underling enters play with 1 spot counter on him. Force interact when spot would be dealt damage from an attack. If there's at least 1 spot counter here, remove 1 spot counter from here and deal that damage to the attacker instead. Wow. Otherwise, place 1 spot counter here. So you want to deal him 1 damage first, and then deal him 5 damage all at once. And the Reluctant Black Cat. 1 scheme, 1 attack, 6 HP, Thief, Underling, Villainous, while there's at least 4... Wow, does this guy also have... Okay, he does not have Villainous. Black Cat does. While there's at least 4 threat here, treat Black Cat as an ally that takes 2 consequential damage after she attacks her turret. Ooh. Hero action spend... Wait a second. 4 threat here. 4 threat here. Isn't the way that... Baron Zemo works. Place 1 threat on an ally without threat on... Oh, without threat on it. Okay. So you can't use Baron Zemo to give Black Cat more counters to keep her around. That would be funny if you could. Hero action, spend a mental resource, place 1 threat here. If there's at least 4 threat here, take control of Black Cat as an ally. I like that. When does the threat go away? Oh wait, no. It doesn't go away. She doesn't start with any. It starts with 0. Okay, so you have to spend 4 mental resources to place enough threat there to get Black Cat as an ally. I think it's easier just to get rid of her. I think I'm just gonna get rid of her. At least in Black Cat's case, with some careful convincing, you can have her join your side as an ally. Just keep in mind that her villainous keyword will still work even while she's on your side. This is due to a rule change that Fear No Evil introduces for the villainous keyword, allowing it to work with friendly characters as well. One has to wonder why we did that... ... Ooh. Oh boy. Okay, Daredevil, 100%. Daredevil has an Elektra ally who has villainous. That is definitely gonna happen. That's my new prediction. Heroic Defenders. As with all campaign expansions, Fear No Evil marks the beginning of a new wave of playable heroes. Since today's article is focusing more on the scenario content in this box, in the coming weeks we'll preview the 2 heroes that come in this box, Echo and Daredevil. The talented martial artist Echo enters the fray with a pre-built protection deck, and her playstyle revolves around mimicking the techniques of her allies and fellow heroes, not the villain, which is what I thought she was going to do. I thought she was going to spend mental resources to tuck the villain's boost cards under her, which... I like that idea better, because this forces you to use allies. Meanwhile, the long-awaited Daredevil joins the battle with a pre-built Justice deck alongside a special Sense deck that allows him to double up on his actions. Both of these heroes are core members of the Defenders and will be seeing the rest of the team join in the coming months. We first teased the hero packs for the Fear No Evil wave back in November during our in-flight report. In case you need a refresher, the remaining heroes for this wave are Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Elektra, and Iron Fist. We'll share more details for each of these heroes, plus the Shadowland scenario pack that we also tease in the in-flight report on a later date, so stay tuned. See no evil, hear no evil, fear no evil. Crime is on the rise in New York City, and Kingpin and his underlings are to blame. Can you put a stop to all the chaos and restore peace to the Big Apple? Take on Kingpin and his criminal underworld when Fear No Evil arrives in July. You can pre-order your copy of Fear No Evil MC60EN at your local retailer or online through our web store today, written by Peter Schumacher? Written by Peter S. You know what? Aside from the fact that it seems like all of the regular bosses in this game, or in this box, will only have one main scenario, I think I'm quite excited for this. I think, like, that's the only thing that I really seem to have a gripe about, I think. They all still use the standard set, which I'm not happy about. They haven't previewed a new standard set, but Kingpin does not use a standard set, which makes me very, very excited. This might be my new favorite scenario, simply due to that. Okay, my new prediction. My new prediction for this overall wave is that instead of having a modular encounter in the back of each of the heroes' packs, it is going to have a modular main scheme. a new modular main scheme for each of the 4 heroes, and they were like, nope, you can keep using the old villains, but now there's new main schemes to play with. That's going to be my new big prediction. Hopefully we'll see more about that in the coming weeks, and that I will see you next time in the next video. See you then. Goodbye.